Hey guys, welcome to Brian's Man Cave. So today's another episode of Amazing Games from A to Z, and today's letter is J. Now, when I first thought about it, I was like, how am I going to find games with J? And I thought there wouldn't be any. But I was actually surprised on how many I found. Now, a lot of them were actually on the Atari, and a few on the Commodore 64. So let's start with the Atari, because I usually end up trying to start off with the Atari games, and So the first one that came to mind was Joust on the Atari 2600. I loved this game from the moment I got it. I remember I got it as a birthday present, and this was late in the Atari's days. This is when I got my junior. I didn't have the original Atari system when I was a kid, so my only really exposure to this game was on the Commodore 64, and I didn't really know what I was doing. So I ended up getting this on the 2600 Junior, and which is the same. I mean, it's the same Atari, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, I was quite surprised on how well this game played. But there was also an Atari 7800 version that came a little bit later, which tried to mimic a little bit more of the arcade. Now the thing is, either one of these games gives you a really good experience at playing Joust. I mean, this one, surprisingly, it holds up. I mean, I actually like playing this one. I put it in every once in a while, and I still play it. The graphics are nice. The sound is nice. The gameplay is great. I mean, the physics of the game, the way your characters move, it's actually a decent version of the game. Now, I did do a comparison video on this, so if you're want to see what the differences are, you could probably go back in my videos, maybe do a search for Joust, and you'll probably find it in there where I actually played these two and kind of compared them. The next one, and I've talked about this one as well, is Jungle Hunt. Again, this is a decent version. I believe I got this one and Joust at the same time for birthday presents, and I was quite surprised at how well this game is. It's kind of simple. It's easy to play. It's kind of a relaxing style game, as my friend James Campbell would say in his Jim's Retro Zone videos, where he does relaxing gameplay. I kind of find the Atari one is kind of relaxing. It's not too difficult. Sure, you get into the water part, and those little alligator things can be a nuisance. But I also have it on the ColecoVision, and I find that this one is a much different experience. This version is hard. I could not get very far. I don't know if I actually did a video on this one or not. I know I did something on Jungle Hunt. I can't remember. I probably did play this one. But I do remember playing this one a few times after I bought it. And I could not get very far in it. I found it was a little bit more challenging. And I'm sure it would be the same if I end up getting the Atari 400. I believe it's on the 400 version of it. Because I find that those systems typically had the harder ports. Moving on, we're going to go to a classic Pac-Man game. And speaking of hard, this game is hard. If you like Pac-Man and you want a challenge, I think this is one of the good ones to pull out. This is Junior Pac-Man. It's kind of funny that they started off with Junior Pac-Man and not Pac-Man Junior, which, I didn't realize I could use this in my J video because I was expecting to pull it out in the P video. But it's actually Junior Pac-Man. That's the way they do it. Maybe they were thinking because of Miss Pac-Man, they wanted to follow that suit of saying Junior Pac-Man. But to me, it would naturally sound like you would say Pac-Man Jr. Anyways, regardless, this is actually a pretty challenging game. The board goes beyond the screen, which makes it difficult because there's the part of the screen that you can't see. So when you're actually moving upwards, you're not going to see if there's ghosts coming down toward you. It also feels like, like it is a bigger board, and I think even just the ghosts are different. They behave a little bit different in this one. I don't know what it is about it. It's a challenging game, and I've yet to actually play this one on my channel or do any kind of video on this one. I've been kind of scratching my head. How do I want to do this? Should I just do watch me suck at this game or something? I don't know. It's a head scratcher, but I definitely want to play this at some point in time. Moving on to one that's I've kind of briefed on this one as well, James Bond. Now this is 007. There was probably a bunch of different kinds of James Bond games that came out during the day. This is the one I remember. Again, I played this on the Commodore as well, the Commodore 64. That was where I first played this game. And comparing it to this one, I definitely like the Commodore 64 one better. The sounds and the graphics and everything, and the gameplay are a whole lot better than this one. But it's not bad. I mean, it's kind of like playing. There's a Moon Patrol. That's the one I was thinking of. Moon Patrol on the Atari, which a lot of people like that game. It's a very simple, buggy style thing that you're jumping over holes and stuff, and you're shooting things. Well, this kind of plays in that same realm, but it adds on a few other different kinds of levels. It's a little challenging, and I believe that it follows 3 different storylines from the James Bond series. So it's not just focusing on one movie or one story. The last one I wanted to bring up, because, I should actually talk about this one here, is Jupiter Lander. That's another one. It's probably not as a popular title. It was like a cartridge game, I believe, for the Commodore 64. I actually had it on disc with a bunch of other cartridge games. And it's a very simple game, but for whatever reason, I liked playing it. It was weird. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot to it. You were literally just landing a spaceship. The graphics were simple. It's just the way that it moved. It actually kind of reminded me of other games like Space Taxi, which I've played on the Commodore 64. That sort of thing where left is right, right is left, and it just confuses you. You got your thrusters, which I believe they make the opposite. You push down to go up. So they really mess with you in that game. And it's just a simple, let's land this spaceship onto the landing pads. And whichever landing pad you land on, that's the points you get. Very simple one. But anyways, yeah. Moving on to the last game I want to bring up. And that is Jumpman. Now, Jumpman, I love that one. I played it on the Commodore 64 again. And there's also Jumpman Jr., which I didn't get to play until the Coleco version, which I ended up picking up not that long ago. I'd have to say, though, the games are very similar. The first one, Jumpman, was the one I was more familiar with. I played that one a lot. There's a lot of levels on there. There's different modes of difficulty. You can start off with the very easy, you can move into intermediate, and then you can go into the hard or expert, whatever they want to call it. And the graphics are simple, and it's just a little dude, just a little stick dude running around, going up and down ladders. I believe you could play these on the new C64 Mini, which came out not that long ago. I don't have that, but I've seen a few videos on it, and those Jumpman and Jumpman Jr. are both in there. But for the ColecoVision, I have Jumpman Jr., and similar game, it's just the levels seem harder. I didn't get very far. I've been playing it also on the ColecoVision Flashback, which is the other system I had. I took that on vacation with me, my previous vacation, and was playing Jumpman Jr., but I found it to be a little bit harder to control. A little bit, the levels, I guess, the design of the levels, or I don't know. There's something about it I just found hard. I don't know why it's Junior, though. It looks exactly the same as Jumpman. So maybe it's got less levels or something, whatever the reasoning, maybe the storyline behind it. Not really sure why it's a Junior. Why didn't you just call it Jumpman 2 or whatever? Not really sure. Anyways, yeah, that's my list of games that start with J. I could have dug a little bit deeper and maybe found some more unfamiliar titles, like the Jackal game for the Nintendo. But there's just none that really came to mind outside of the Atari and the Coleco, and of course the Commodore 64. Now it's funny that I played a lot of the same games on both the Atari and the Commodore, and that's pretty much how I'm used to most of these games, is that I probably played most of them on the Commodore 64, not even realizing that they even existed on the Atari. So I was kind of blown away when I found certain games on Atari that I knew so well from playing on the 64. But yeah, I mean, that's just back in the day. Like I've probably mentioned this before with the other videos. Usually you had one system, maybe two, and that was what you got familiar with. So you didn't always know that the game existed somewhere else. Anyways, let me know what you think of the choices. If you have any other games that I missed, anything obvious that I missed, maybe even some PlayStation stuff that I missed, throw it down in there in the chats. Let me know what you think of the choices. Let me know what you think of the games. And hope you liked the video. Hope you subscribe. Talk to you later.